let's go to calls.
We're going to move on to calls real quick here. Randy in Chicago, thanks for waiting.
No problem. Thanks. Happy anniversary on the 10 years. And
oh, thanks.
Boy, you must be getting old, huh?
I must be.
Jen and Matt, it's a pleasure to finally speak to you. I've listened to you guys for years. So I have a real quick question because it sounds like you have some theists on the line. I recently came across a school of thought, philosophical position called Theological Non-cognitivism.
Yeah.
Or it's also known as, okay, so you've heard of it.
Yeah, Massimo Pigliucci is an advocate of this. And
who's that again? I'm sorry?
Massimo Pigliucci.
Okay.
Who I'm probably butchering his name just a little bit, but come on now.
Okay, so you're familiar with it. Well, I'm just curious, what are your thoughts? I find it very intellectually satisfying.
I think it's crap.
I don't want to approach it as a cop-out to atheism. I think atheism is valid and has practical or utilitarian purposes, but philosophically, I find it very intellectually stimulating.
That's so strange. I mean, I say it's strange because you use the word cop-out, which is exactly what I think it is, and then you simultaneously think that you're okay with atheism. I don't know why we would need another label for this, and so theological non-cognitivism also encompasses atheism and agnosticism, and it's this contention that the God prospect or the God concept isn't a concept at all because it isn't well defined, and so this extends to being one really can't have a position on this, and I think it is an unnecessary avoidance of the issue for a number of reasons, not the least of which is that you could use this for many different claims, and all you're really doing is avoiding having a conversation about what those claims are and whether or not they're rationally justified. And for example, love is that term is used to define as a label for so many different things that one could say, well, it's used so broadly that now it's meaningless. Well, yeah, if you only look at it at that level, but if you look at it at a more distinct level, it's very clear that people have concepts of God and that these concepts are different. The Zeus concept is different from the Ra concept, which is different from the Yahweh concept, and so there is something there that allows us to distinguish between them, and that means automatically that the theological non-cognitivism is wrong. It's a cop-out. Because
am I misunderstanding it then? Is it saying that nothing can be said about? Because maybe I misunderstood it. I thought maybe it was more of a generalized way of saying it. Certainly, there are people who have a very clear.
So I'm wondering what good it is. So my problem is, what good is it, and why would we need it? For example, if somebody's got a God concept that they're presenting, and we're going to consider it and we're going to evaluate it, then we evaluate whatever they present. And if what they've actually presented is something that is so ill-defined that we cannot evaluate it, then the default position is to reject it. You cannot accept it until such time as it's been explained to where you can understand it and then also demonstrate it to be true. And so atheism still wins out there. I don't know what we get by saying, oh, there's so many different uses for God that none of them are clearly defined, that we just can't talk about it, when we clearly do, and billions of people talk about it and believe or don't believe.
Yeah, I certainly agree with you on that. Okay, Jen, did you have any feelings on that?
Well, I mean, I think that we've had shows before where we talked about everybody's concept of a God is pretty much a one-off, but I think that having those conversations about what someone's understanding of what that means is valuable, and so and that's why I'm kind of with Matt on this. It's like I don't think that I really think this is kind of a cop-out.
Okay.
It's a way of avoiding what I think is actually a meaningful conversation to have.
And I'll tell you, there's another thing that I consider to be a cop-out in the way that it's used, even though I'm fine with the concept, and that is a particular strain of agnosticism. I'm fine with the idea of we don't know. We've talked about, I'm an agnostic theist or an agnostic atheist, and the distinction between belief and knowledge. But when somebody says, hey, do you believe in God? And your answer is, I'm an agnostic, that's a cop-out. You didn't answer the question. Because if I said, hey, do you believe this? And you said, I don't know. Well, are you saying you don't know whether or not you believe it? Because now we need to have a conversation. I'm pretty sure that if you believe something, you should probably be aware of it. I mean, that's the belief is the positive position, and I don't know what it means to believe something and not be aware of it. I'm not saying it's necessarily impossible, because I don't think we're aware of every aspect of our beliefs distilled. But when you come across a broad thing of, hey, do you believe there's a God? And you say, I'm agnostic, you haven't answered the question.
Okay, that's awesome. I pretty much am in agreement, and I felt the need to ask because I really agree with your approach, the show's approach, where the first thing you ask is, well, what do you mean by God? And I think that's the appropriate first step.
On the other hand, to be fair to what I've said in the past, if I say, do you believe in God, and you say you're agnostic, basically you just told me you're an atheist. Because the weak atheist position is one where you do not believe. If you believed, and you would know that you believed, so by saying you're agnostic, and I don't have any problem with people using that label or identifying however they want. You can identify as an atheist, agnostic, an ignostic, whatever label you're comfortable with. But when we get down to brass tacks about what people actually believe and don't believe, your label that you might choose to use to describe yourself and what your position is doesn't change what you actually are. You may well be an atheist just like me and use a different label.
Right. But I get what you're saying. I mean, if you ask someone, do you believe in a God, and their answer is anything other than yes, then they're an atheist by default.
Yeah, and at least in the weak and soft atheist position.
Right.
Hey, Randy, thanks for calling. I appreciate it.
Yeah, take care, guys.